Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Skull.
I'm Zombie Cat.
And this is the Horror Den. Now, today we are doing a very highly recommended movie from one of our viewers. Put the name up here, Smite Lad. He's been commenting on a lot of our videos over the past couple months to watch this movie. And today we are watching Psycho Goreman. I don't know what I was expecting, to be honest.
Not this.
No, definitely not what we got.
The slightest.
This is probably the most out there movie that we have covered to date.
100%. I can't think of anything that we've covered like this.
I mean, we've covered some not traditional horror things, but this is what I would consider to be a horror comedy.
Yeah,
emphasis on the comedy.
I would definitely recommend watching it for yourself. It's on Shudder. I'm sure you can buy it somehow. They're pretty lenient.
You can buy it on Apple.
Yeah, so definitely go support Shudder. Shudder is awesome. It's a Shudder exclusive, so
which I did not know.
Yeah,
until we watched it.
I thought it was older than this. For some reason, I thought this was some like 80s movie or 90s.
I think it's just because of the lettering on the case and like the neon and the music.
It said 2021, so.
And it takes place in probably the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Oh, it's never explicitly stated, except for the fact that the dad says something that kind of ages it.
Yeah. But yeah, go support Shudder and watch it. If not, spoiler warning, because we're about to talk about the whole thing. So.
All right. So without further ado, let's dive into Psycho Goreman.
Okay, so the movie starts out with two kids playing in the yard, I already forgot the name of the
game.
Crazy Ball. They're playing a game called Crazy Ball. We don't even know the rules.
I do. Okay, so, I caught it. I don't know why. So, it's basically like dodgeball. You take these two balls and you throw them as far as you can, and you run after it. And basically, you grab it and you turn around and you basically play dodgeball. And if you get hit, if you hit someone, you get a point, and the goal is to get 67 points. However, there is a rule called the switcheroo, where if the two balls hit each other, the two individuals whose balls hit, they have to run at each other, and whoever hits the other person first gets all the other team's points plus 1.
And if you get hit in the butt, it's 5 points.
Apparently. I don't... That's never said...
I think they make up the rules as they go.
Yeah, but what I just said is like the general rule that she teaches everyone later on.
But either way, this is how we're introduced to this little girl and her brother, and she beats him in the... What'd you say it was called?
The Crazy Ball. And the
No,
switcheroo.
The switcheroo, that's what I was talking about.
The little girl's name is Mimi, and the little boy's name is...
His name is Boy.
Mimi's brother.
And she gets to go and just punch him. Whoever wins the punch wins the game. So
and they have this weird ass bet where it's like the loser, the winner is like proclaimed Crazy Ball champion of the universe, and the loser gets buried alive.
Yeah, and after they're done playing, we didn't even mention the freaking huge monologue at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, that's like it's like Star Wars style, where it's like giving some major backstory about Psycho Goreman.
Yeah, very cheesy Flash Gordon, Power Rangers, Super Sentai, Godzilla kind of vibes. It's cool, but it's basically talking about this freaking alien overlord and how he was trapped away and buried, essentially. So that's basically it. He's like a planet conqueror. He destroys everything.
Very much like Thanos.
Yeah, kind of, pretty much. So the boy starts digging his own grave to sleep in, I guess.
It's a big hole, too. I don't know how he dug this by
These are the
himself.
holes our parents talk about, I think.
Well, where we're from, you can't dig that far because you start hitting like really dense clay.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Our parents tell us they dug like 20-foot holes when they were kids. So
Kids like to exaggerate. It was this big.
it was this big. So they find a gem deep in this hole where he is digging his own grave, I guess, and immediately the sister, who is funny, but I kind of don't like her, to be honest.
She is very annoying, but
She's like the stereotypical mean little kid who doesn't understand how mean she is, but she's just it's the brother sister like you always because you're my brother.
Frig, it's Frig.
Frig you every always forever because you're my brother.
boy, that was nostalgic for me. I said frick all the time. Like,
What the frick?
So they grab this gem, or either I can't remember which order, but she just does an eeny, meeny, miny, mo pass. There's like a combination lock on this freaking, I don't know, like tablet. And she enters the password and guesses it first try by doing an eeny,
yeah,
meeny,
and it was one of those things where he was gonna claim it because he found it, and she's like, crazy ball champion of the universe gets all the treasure.
Yeah.
And so she takes it.
And she just grabs it, and their mom calls them to come inside. And I don't know how she didn't see the hole in, but she didn't. But they call them inside.
It's dark.
And
They eat
They
chicken
think-
that's been microwaved.
that's later. That's later.
Oh.
That's after Goreman shows up. But after their mom calls them inside, this whole time they're digging and hit this rock. They think this is where they buried their grandma for some reason.
Is this where they buried Grandpa?
For some reason, grandma's buried under a tablet with a passcode and gem.
Yeah, purple glowing light coming from her coffin.
And essentially it kind of just cuts to them being in bed, and the little boy, yeah, boy, that's what I'm gonna call him. He's asking his dad, is there such thing as monsters? And he's like, the real monsters are humans. So he's he's a weird dad, very weird. We'll get into that as we go. And then it cuts to the sister, and I think she asked the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
She's asking about monsters, and
Yeah, she says, and if monsters come and kill us all, will you make sure that before they kill me, they kill Luke first?
oh my god. Yeah. And after this point, they're in bed, and then through Morse code, through the doors, somehow these kids know friggin' Morse code, a friggin' Morse code.
Friggin' Morse
Yeah.
code.
And she is tapping on her brother's door. I can't remember what she's saying to him.
I think we woke Grandma.
Yeah, I think we woke up Grandma. And we then cut to outside.
Wait, she says back, how many times do I have to tell you Grandma's dead, will be dead forever in hell?
She's in hell forever.
Grandma's in
Yeah.
hell forever. It's not Grandma. And then we were all three like, oh my god, this girl is
I
sadistic.
want to know, what did the grandma do to deserve that?
Dude, that grandma made her eat her vegetables a few too many times.
Made her eat her broccoli.
Yeah. And then we cut to outside, and we get our first appearance of Psycho Goreman with his. Well, he doesn't have a name. They don't give him a mortal name until later. And
No name can contain me.
yeah, he just freaking does the classic hand out of the grave. And we cut to an old shoe factory where we see this freaking hulking beast of a man come in. These guys, I guess they just got done robbing somebody or something. They're gonna sell it.
They
And-
robbed and murdered this old man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for like
a radio or something.
it was like a
that.
VCR
Yeah,
player
yeah.
or something. A VCR player and some
Picture
old,
with the frame.
yeah, picture frame.
Gold frame.
Say what you want to, that's a nice frame.
And then in comes Psycho Goreman. He looks fucking awesome. Genuinely looks like a straight up Power Rangers villain in a good way. Like, it looks so good. This movie has amazing practical effects.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think I mean, when you see CG, it's like with the lights and stuff.
mhm.
If you've seen old school Power Rangers,
yeah, it's intentionally like it's practical and it looks cheesy, but it looks good for what they're going for.
yeah, it
Yeah.
totally fits with the style. and it doesn't take away from the movie as a whole.
It's not like because it fits so well into the goofiness of the movie.
Yeah.
And essentially, I can't remember how he kills the first dudes. Oh wait, I know how he kills them. So he just walks up to the couch and rips their heads off.
Like straight up Sub-Zero ripping the head off.
Yeah, both of them at the same time. Just prunk, once again, awesome practical effects. Just psh, blood fountain. And then they get to the leader of this little trio, I guess, and he's like, "Please don't kill me." And he's like, "Okay, I can't remember what."
This is fine. Live forever.
Yeah, live forever.
Yeah, and he like puts a curse on him, and his eyes start like continuously rolling.
And it's like he can't die.
Yeah, he's like living eternally in his mind and torment.
And then at this point, I think we're at school the next day with the kids.
No, we cut. It's that night, and they like sneak out. No, it's the next day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because school's
so-
first.
Yeah, they go to school, and then when they come home, they notice that the hole is still there, and then the parents are like, well, the dad specifically, he's like, somebody's gonna have to fill this hole up, preferably one of you guys.
Yeah.
And then they all vote for him to do it, and he shovels one scoop of dirt and hurts his hand.
As soon as he goes, "Oh,
Don't even look at it, it hurts.
don't even look at it. It hurts."
He really says that.
Yeah, he does.
Have they met Alistair yet?
Yeah,
No,
at school the first time,
No,
right?
because they
Was it
meet. They bring him the second time they go see Goreman.
Oh yeah, okay, I remember.
So-
I remember.
Basically, they're like, they realize
So I guess maybe this wasn't the school day. I guess it was just the next day.
They like.
Well, no, they see
Realize
him.
that
They
they-
see him in the morning at school. Because the girl calls him a hunky boy, and then like the next day or something is when they take him through the woods to go
Mhm.
see.
But see, I forget what
Goreman or
initiated
something.
the search, but I think it's like they can tell that the ground's been more disturbed because like something climbed out of it. And
Yeah,
they, like,
yeah.
They follow.
They see the gate open.
Yeah, they follow the
Yeah.
trail, and it leads them to the shoe factory where they find Psycho Goreman.
Yeah. So essentially, he's spieling on about how he's gonna destroy.
I'm the devourer of worlds.
Like just talking himself up. He's an absolute badass, and he's about to kill boy. And the girl runs up to him and's like, "Stop!" And he just stops immediately, and he's kind of like spooked, and she realizes the gem that they dug up is in her pocket. It's like pulsing, so this gem has a great power over Psycho Goreman that basically gives him his power.
So they start messing with him, like he spins the boy around using his magical powers,
Yeah, she instantly just uses it to bully her brother, of course.
and they basically, they hear a little bit of backstory about him, like how he was a slave.
It's so badass, but they keep cutting him off.
Yeah. Which I think he goes more into it the next day, so we'll
Yeah.
save it for then, because that's when I think it really happens. But they spend their time trying to name him, and then they finally come up with Psycho Goreman, and that is deemed his
PG.
name. PG for short. And then she orders him to sit down, shut up, and wait for us to come back tomorrow.
Yep.
Anyway, we're cutting to the next day. They go to school. They invite their friend Alistair home. And we see them we see Luke carrying a TV through the woods. And they're going to see Psycho Goreman.
Also, Mimi has huge hots for Alistair.
Mm-hmm. And they go to the shoe factory. They meet Psycho Goreman again. They give him the TV. And this is probably one of the funniest things in the whole movie. And it comes up later. So she brought these magazines for him to look at. And she was like, sorry, we don't have any pornos. And she was like, but he's like, why do you care for all this? Like, why do you have this narcissism with such a short lifespan? And she's like, well, just look at the hunky boys. And he says, I do not care for hunky boys. And then he looks at the picture of this guy who's like absolutely ripped, and he just goes, or do I?
And then this is when he goes into his backstory
Right.
and origin. So essentially,
He's from the planet Gygax.
Yeah, and there's basically a hierarchy. They're like angels, kind of like
The
Templars, and they are in control of everything. They are above everyone, but they classify it as peace, essentially. But while people like Psycho Goreman, he's essentially just a miner. He works all day, and he's just a slave, essentially.
I feel like whoever made this movie is the biggest fucking nerd on the planet. Because number one, the name of the planet he is from is named after Gary Gygax, the creator of Dungeons and Dragons. And also, if you really pay attention with the Templars, I think that that's a reference to the Templars in real life history, but also
you can tell so much nerdy shit was crammed into this.
Oh, right.
It's
and
awesome.
Also, the Templars could be in reference to Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
And how they ruled everything. And then lastly, like the whole kind of setup of like these miners and there's like the higher ups. It kind of reminds me of like the mining planets from Alien.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was about to say.
So
like the mining colonies.
I whoever this person is, I forget their name, but
we'll have to look into them. I don't know.
I want to salute them because if all this was intentional, you are feeding into my nerdiness real bad.
Yeah. Fucking awesome. But essentially we cut to Goreman just being like a peasant worker, essentially. Like he has no power, he's just there. And he picks into like this tree almost. It's a practical effect tree, it's pretty cool. But the ground opens up and he finds this gem, and it's like one of the most valuable gems of all time. And he essentially like consumes it through his chest and proceeds to become essentially a destroyer of worlds.
It's like a gem that gives you psionic powers.
Yeah, he is very OP now, so we get to see him like kind of break out of his like chains and armor he was wearing and just start killing some people. And I believe at this point he just leaves to start conquering and just... No,
he kills all the Templars.
Oh yeah, because he's standing on top of their corpses.
Yeah, and he's holding a like half Templar that was like their leader. Anyway, he takes over his home planet, and then he proceeds to like raise up an army out of the slaves, appoint some generals, which he calls what does he call them?
Paladins.
The Paladins. Yeah, well, there you go with the Dungeons and Dragons. And then they proceed to go from world to world, just conquering and killing. And apparently the Templars eventually caught up to him and used this magic to trap him in like this almost like cube of energy, and then used the gem to seal him away forever. Until now.
Which happened to be on Earth.
Why is it always on Earth?
Yeah. But the kids immediately cut him off because they're like, this is stupid and lame.
No, that boring story made me tired.
Yeah, and they have a TV set up for him now, so they're all getting bored of him for the moment. So they're like, just sit here and watch some TV. And they proceed to leave, and he touches the TV saying it might have just enough energy. And he touches it and he starts calling upon his paladins, saying like his coordinates, where he's at and what's happening. He has no power because the little girl is in complete control of him, and the TV starts bleeding. It's so cool when he's communicating with them, and when the subtitles pop up of what the paladins are saying, it's like just I don't know, just
it's an alien language and then it is translated to English.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But after that, they decide to mess with Psycho Goreman a little more. But they're at the house, and Alistair is hanging out with Luke playing video games. Vids, which
never in my life have I called a video game a vid.
This movie is like the humor. It's either super cringy or super funny. Like, there's some that kind of fall flat, and it's like, oh, that's kind of cringe. Then there's just moments that are pretty freaking funny.
Anyway, so Luke and Alistair go upstairs to play some vids.
After having the chicken.
After having the chicken that was microwaved. and we see Mimi outside playing like basketball, basically, and she summons Psycho Goreman to be her companion, and Alistair comes out there with Luke, and they're like, "No, he can't be here," and she's like, "He can be wherever I want him to be," which is technically true. And it was really funny because Psycho Goreman, she was like, "What took you so long?" And Psycho Goreman's like, he gives this long spiel of like how he's powerful, and then he says, "But I must admit, I got lost," which is funny.
And at this point too, she's super attracted to Alistair, so she's like, "How do I win him over?" And he tells a story of once how he was able to enchant somebody to fall in love, and she asks him to do that to Alistair, and he proceeds to turn into a fat brain.
A brain tentacle monster.
Yeah.
Like a squid.
And at this point, the parents see what's going on outside, and they start freaking out. And what's funny is they bolt out and just jump over Alistair. They don't even care about him. Just the big brain. They're just like,
"Get away from my kids!" As he hits him with the bat, and then the dad's like, "My lucky bat!"
yeah, just like,
yeah. But, basically, Mimi's like, "Parents, this is Psycho Goreman. Psycho Goreman, this is parents." And they're super scared of him. And he's like, "Oh,
I'm going to kill you."
Yeah. "Oh, he won't hurt you. I'm going to kill you. Don't be worried. You should be worried."
You should be worried.
When I tell you that this movie made us audibly laugh more than once is an understatement. There's a moment later on in this movie that I straight up started cackling because it was just so... Because this movie does exactly what you want it to, comedically. Like, if you can sit here and go, this would be a perfect time for them to come back and be like, "Ah!" They do it. It's funny. Anyway, moving on.
So, also, it might have been a little bit before this, but, we're sloppy sometimes. Essentially, the Templar, who's the leader of them essentially now,
there's like this alliance that has been formed because of Psycho Goreman.
Yeah, once again, all practical effects on these creatures, and they look so freaking cool. They're super stupid and goofy intentionally.
Very, like, early new Doctor Who, like David Tennant era Doctor Who.
But essentially she's saying, we gotta figure out how to put a stop to this. We can't let him take back over. And she summons a human from Earth and sucks her into a freaking heart cube. It's so disgusting. And she freaking smashes it on the ground. And you're immediately like, they're not really any better, are they? They're the good guys, but we're trying to keep your Earth from being destroyed.
One for the sake of many.
Yeah.
And she like smears the blood on her
freaking
face.
Joaquin Phoenix Joker style. Then at this point, we start to have a fun montage of the parents are getting used to Psycho Goreman being around. And they're like going out to eat, and they're like getting them dressed in all these outfits, and they're like, "Oh, yeah." And I think after the montage is over, they're eating in a diner, and he just starts like inhaling his food through like this gigantic mouth.
Yeah, it like opens up like a predator.
Yeah, and he's just like sucking in all this food, like even with the plate. They're like, "Man, I wish I could do that." And it comes up later. He said, we don't even eat necessarily for the like benefits.
It's not just for the benefits.
Yeah, it's also a warrior's death. And at this point, they take him to a basketball court, and they're telling him
he's all dressed up. He's got like sunglasses, like a hat, and like a button up.
Yeah,
and his spikes on his back are ripped through the shirt.
And they're gonna teach him how to play crazy ball, and he is not picking up a single rule of the game. So at this point, police start showing up. Somehow they got word of Psycho.
Well, I mean, you can't miss him.
Yeah, somehow they finally decided to show up.
They sent 2 cops.
Yep, 2 cops, and they show up, and he immediately just grabs one of them. They start shooting at him. Of course, it does nothing. He's just, and he grabs one of them and completely like melts him down into just like goo.
And his gun is melded to his hand.
It's permanently stuck.
He was
to
like,
his
"So
hand.
you are the protectors of this planet. I expected more." And he's like, "I'll tell you what, lawman."
Yep. And he tells the other cop to tell them that darkness has come to take over Earth, and he just leaves and freaks out. So now they have a new buddy who is this zombie cop, and
He tries to tell Mimi to see. Now we have another companion to
Yep.
play your stupid game with.
Yep.
And the cop's like,
Yeah, the whole rest of the movie, that poor cop, he's got it worse than anybody.
and it gets so ridiculously funny.
Yeah. And then at this point, I think we're traveling through the woods with the kids. I can't remember why. I think they're just out roaming. And Psycho Goreman's paladins catch up, and they finally are there for him. And
These paladins remind me of the Urukai from like Shadows of Mordor.
yeah.
Especially the main dude. He reminds me of the one you help become
Mhm.
a warhead.
And you find out essentially that they've joined up with the Templars, and they're kind of like, oh, we're gonna have peace now, and we're just gonna take turns being the leader. And they start kicking Psycho Goreman's ass.
Well, and also it's important to note that Psycho Gorman's like, you may kill them now, and I may go with you. And they're like, no, we like it the way it is.
Yeah.
We just wanted to make sure that the job was finished.
Mhm.
And because he was like, kill them, Mimi's like, no, I'm not going to help you. You're going to take this beating. And they start beating the fuck out of him. And she forces him to apologize. And he's like, tiny human, I am genuinely sorry. And so she basically lets him fight back, giving him back his power. And
But he does get critically injured.
Right, but he starts wrecking shit though.
Yeah, my favorite design was the one that looked like a giant freaking washing machine, and it had like corpses.
Yeah, it spewed blood.
Yeah, it just shoots blood at him when he's down on the ground. It just psst. It's like the hero in MJ.
The mutilated cop is joining in, like kicking him. But also, this is a sad little funny note. I can't not bring it up. But when they were walking down the trail, the cop is like begging to die, basically, and he points his gun at his neck and fires, and nothing happens. Like he's alive.
He gives Mimi a note that's a Valentine's note. It says, "Please kill me." She's like, "Why would you waste a perfectly good note on that?" And but yeah, after this, Psycho Goreman killed them all, and
it turns out that they apparently the last battle that he took place in, we learned something about him. They must have coated their weapons in his blood because he is actually hurt.
Yeah.
Which that's cool that he can only be hurt by himself, basically.
Yeah, because he's like bleeding just typical red blood, which is kind of weird.
I thought it was like pinkish purple.
No, it was when it showed him like cutting him, but his face is just covered in red blood. It might have been because he got sprayed.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But yeah.
But he's basically begging Mimi. He's like, the only way to save me is by giving me the stone, and that'll return me to my former power. And he's been consistently trying to get the stone from her, so we're kind of unsure if he's trying to trick her or not. But they are like, we need help. We need to get you somewhere. It's like, we need to contact somebody. And so we cut and we see that the mom and dad are fighting, and he goes into the bathroom and he's sitting there taking a shit. And
yeah, the dad does.
yeah, and we see this little like purple dot float in, and And he's like, huh. And then it explodes into Psycho Goreman's face going, ah! Ah! Find me!
And he disappears.
Yeah, no, he's like, I come here to this location. And then it disappears. And the dad's, he's like in the shower now. And he's like, I don't know where that is. And then he pops up again. Ah!
He keeps scaring him. And he gives him the exact address and where to turn and stuff like that. And then the dad shows up with his truck, and Mimi, with this freaking dude beaten to death almost, she's like, you gotta scoot over. I gotta fit my wagon back here, essentially. And they start taking him home. And then once they get home, they realize the leader of the Templars are there. They don't know that's who that is, but that's who it is. And they're trying to basically decide, should they trust her or him? And Boy gets out of the car, and
Luke.
Yeah, he gets out of the car. The reason I call him Boy is because Psycho Goreman calls him Boy.
Psycho Goreman can never remember his name.
So
that's a running joke.
Boy. And he gets out and joins the mom and the Templar lady. So it's like, I don't get why they're trying to make the brother out to be the bad one when the sister is so obnoxious. But
I think we're beyond reasoning.
Oh yeah. I'm just saying, it's so weird that they try to make her to be out the good one. Earlier, he had a nightmare, and Psycho Goreman's able to talk to him through his nightmares, and he's like, could you please get the gym for me, essentially?
And he's like, no. And he's like, well, I guess I'll just have to wait here until your dream's over.
Yeah, so they just sit there like...
Anyway, it was really funny. But, I mean, obviously we're going to miss some stuff. It's an hour and a half long movie. Like, highly recommend it.
Yeah. And then... at this point, they drive away to the shoe factory where all this began. And I think this was actually earlier in the movie, but the dude who he paralyzed at the beginning...
Oh, no, he's already been he got destroyed when
yeah, so we're still just going to mention it because it's funny. He's still there and paralyzed, and one of them just push him over, and his head just completely splatters.
And he says, thank you.
You can see his lips moving on the ground, thank you. And they get there, and they lay him on the couch, and they're basically trying to decide what they need to do. And the dad's like, I need to give you some advice. I'm bad at everything, but I can at least give you some fatherly advice. He was like, once when I was in school, a man in a white van offered me to come see his premium, awesome baseball collection. He's like, I got in that van, and it was one of the coolest collections I have ever seen. So he's like, I want you to take that same risk and give the rock to him. And she just goes and talks. She has an office inside of this place. And there's a Jesus in there that she talks to and she's praying to. And she's basically like, I don't know what to do. But at the same time, she's like, which sunglasses should I wear? And then she's like, I don't pray to God.
There's only one God here, and it's Psycho Goreman. And then she snaps it over her knee.
Like, God. But she chooses the zebra sunglasses.
Okay, this is very archaic metal, like in the recesses of my mind.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone watching this knows the band Lordi, it's a Swedish metal band that dress up in costumes very similar to Psycho Goreman. That's what he reminds me of. He reminds me of one of the band members. Anyway, moving on.
Then at this point we cut back to the house with Boy and the mom and the leader of the Templars, and she's making this concoction, and she gets the mom to drink it, and she basically becomes one of these badass Templars with the wings and shit. And they get to the shoe house, and basically Power Rangers starts.
No. Well, an important thing is that she decides to give him the crystal, but she realizes that she doesn't have it, which means that her brother has it.
Mm-hmm. He took it like
and
Psycho wanted.
they show up and he has the stone, and like, you know, this kind of confrontations happens between the Templar and Psycho Goreman, and he's like, you know, you're a warrior, you must give me a warrior's death, like you must let me fight you.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, well, without your stone, you know, you're no match for me.
Made me think of Tenacious D being like, we gotta have a rock off before you kill us.
Fuck!
Yeah. You got it.
Frig!
But anyway, so what happens is that she's going to take the last like hit, kill him, when Mimi steps in front, and she is not backing down. She's going to cut through both of them, but then the mom steps up and like stops it. And after some like, you know, talking and whatnot, they decide to settle this debate by playing Crazy Ball.
Yeah, and they're of course going over the rules for like the 4th time in the movie, and the Templar is like, could you explain the collision again? And she's like, you should have been paying attention, because I'm not saying it again. And they start playing Crazy Ball.
And they get up to 76 points each, when, just like at the beginning, the two siblings have the switcheroo happen, and the girl punches him straight in the gut and wins. And we're like, yeah. But then the Templar's like, screw this. I'm gonna kill him anyway, you know?
And this basically starts the Godzilla Power Rangers Super Sentai fight. Just straight up, like, it's goofy effects.
Well, the boy, like, the boy Luke and his sister make up, and she gets the stone and gives it to Psycho Goreman.
Yeah.
Then we have a fight.
Yeah, they have him. She's about to kill her brother with the freaking spike ball she made
she's
at
had
the
the whole
beginning.
beginning.
But she decides not to kill her brother. Once again, she's somehow the good kid, but
But morals is not really.
yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
But this starts this epic brawl between Psycho Goreman and the Templar, just duking it out. And the Templar, of course, has a sword, so she has the upper hand. And he's
You're
like,
no match for my holy blade.
yeah, and he's like, I'm gonna make my own blade. So he starts freaking like ripping out chunks of her, like through her armor and stuff like that, crafting this freaking beastly like
Meat sword.
yeah, it's so cool. And I hope you watch it, because we can't explain the fight necessarily, but
Yeah,
it's a badass Power Rangers. If you like Power Rangers, that's what this fight is, but with gore. And
Lots of it.
yeah, and he comes out on top, of course, because it's Psycho Goreman.
At his full potential.
Yeah, and I don't remember. Oh, he gives her a warrior's
He
death.
said, you fought fairly. I will give you a warrior's death, which he did to his last paladin that was alive too.
Yeah.
And we saw it in its full glory. It's gruesome.
It's super cool. Like, his mouth stretches down so far. It's really cool. So he does this to her, and they're all leaving like, yeah, mission accomplished, essentially. And Psycho Goreman comes out, and he's like, well, I'm gonna start destroying this place now.
Thank you for the love that you taught me. And he's like, but I promise to keep you all alive. And then he gives me...
That was her only promise,
Yeah.
is just to keep us alive.
Yeah.
He's like, what about the rest of the people? She's like,
Oh, well.
Didn't think of that.
And he gives her the stone, saying that I don't need it anymore. And that my true power was given
it
by
was within, it's like the power of friendship or
the
something.
power within.
The power of family won in the end. And then he basically, she blows him a kiss and he catches it. And
He blows her a kiss.
and then he opens a portal and instantly starts destroying Earth. And you just see him later on the news, and we cut back to poor freaking...
We see him on the news, but he's the size of Godzilla, like
Yeah, just...
glowing eyes, like pewing, doing like the atomic breath.
And this news station is playing inside of Alistair's house, where he is still a brain, and we cut the credits with his family barely looking at him, and he's just eating with his tentacles while this news is going on about Earth just being annihilated by Psycho Goreman. And that's
it.
that's the movie.
That's Psycho Goreman.
Not at all what I expected in the slightest.
I mean, I knew it was gonna be Power Ranger-esque.
Yeah, but I
'cause of the
thought it was
trailer
gonna
I
be
watched.
that, but like a slasher. I thought it was gonna be like a goofy slasher.
No, I mean, I watched the trailer after I
I
had seen it be like recommended. I knew it was gonna be funny. I did not think it was gonna be this funny.
Yeah, it's not necessarily like it is. I see why it's categorized as horror, but it's not at all. It's one of
I could imagine showing this to a kid.
yeah.
Maybe like 10.
Once they could handle gore, they're fine.
Because, I mean, it's not the most gruesome gore.
There's some parts that are kind of
Yeah, it's just, it's out there gore, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
But once again, it looks cheesy, but at the same time, it fits so perfect
Mhm.
for what they were going for.
Well, you're dealing with a creature with fantastical powers, you
Mhm.
know? Like, there's no realism here.
Yeah, so fucking awesome movie. Super goofy, super funny. Not scary at all, but
No.
I still see why it's labeled under, like, it's a Shudder movie, so it's like, it's labeled as a horror, but I get what they're going for. I get it.
This is, like, the horror of it all is more the gore along with the promise of what he could do.
Yeah, but that doesn't happen until the end. It's hilarious. But yeah, that's it. That's pretty much Psycho Goreman.
So without further ado, let's get into our scoring. So like always, we start off with story. Now, the story's a little bit all over the place for me.
Yeah, it's pretty messy.
I mean, it's funny, and I like it, and I like, you know, me, D-Mac, and Zombie Cat here, we were like, man, I'd love to just deep dive this lore about this, like,
Yeah,
world
no.
he's from and stuff like that.
Every time he's about to give us this awesome lore, they're like, no, we don't really care.
And we're like, but we do. Give
Come
it to us. For that reason, I might change my mind here, but I'm being a little generous considering the fact that I like the nerdiness of it all.
Yeah,
I'm giving it a 6 for story. I feel like that's
Yeah.
generous.
I feel like I'm also gonna give it a 6 because the goofiness aside, it's still kick-ass, don't take it wrong, but still a 6 because it's just like, it's very sloppy, very all over the place, but that's what you kind of expect coming into this.
Oh yeah, like when he says that, he doesn't mean it in a bad way.
No.
Because when you're watching it, you don't care.
You turn your brain off and just look at what's on the screen. That's
Look,
what this
we
is.
grew up watching cheesy 80s slasher horror movies.
Yeah.
So, what's not to love?
Mhm.
We're not here for the story. We're here to see what kind of crazy antics they
Mhm.
get up to and how much they make us laugh.
Yeah.
Because this reminds me of like Monster Squad
Mhm.
and like other movies like this that aren't nearly as gory, but it's, you know, like there is this side of horror that we haven't explored yet. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, you gave it a 6. I gave it a 6. That's a 6 for story. You know, it's above average, I'd say.
Yeah.
Alright, moving on to characters. Now, this is kind of in the same ballpark for me.
Yeah, it sucks because these characters all have like really funny moments and like they're just written really bad. Like, it's not necessarily the actors or anything. Psycho Goreman's perfect.
Oh, yeah.
He's easily the best character. The kids can be like really cringe sometimes. It's like it varies on how well the joke is written, but I don't like that they made Mimi out to be this kick-ass, like, oh yeah, she's cool kind of character when all she's doing is fucking being a douchebag. So
Which I think was an intentional choice by the filmmaker because it feels like he's trying, or they are trying to make a play on how every movie has to have this like deep, sentimental, touching story, like deeper meaning behind it, and the characters learn something. The characters learn absolutely nothing from this
Yeah.
movie.
So for that, for Psycho Goreman alone, it bumps it up to above average 6. I'll give it another 6.
I agree. I'm also giving it a 6. I have nothing else to add.
It's because when they are good, it works, but when it's not good, it's like, oh, that's a little rough, but it's fine.
Yeah, I gave it a 6. You gave it a 6. Characters get a 6.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to antagonist, which we haven't talked about this, but antagonist, I think we have to go with the Templar.
Yeah.
Because Psycho Goreman could be seen as the antagonist, but I feel like he ends up becoming more. I think he's kind of more the protagonist, to be honest.
Yeah, once the movie goes on, he is kind of just the protagonist. It kind of flips on. He's still an antagonist. He's gonna destroy worlds.
Right, but we end up cheering for him.
Yeah, he's kind of the funny good guy. So for me, the Templar, I didn't really care outside of the badass fight at the end. I look like Power Rangers. I would give it a 5. Like, it's very average, like bare minimum. Like, it's there just to be an obstacle essentially. But the final fight with the Templar is cool.
I think I hope this makes sense. I'm giving it a 6. Here's why. Characters design, as well as lore of these aliens, I thought that was so cool that I feel like that bumps it up for me. Just a point.
It is. It's fucking awesome. But just, it's like...
So, I gave it a 6. You gave it a 5. It's 5.5 for average. Moving on to humor. That is where this movie shines.
Yeah, we finally get one that's supposed to be pretty funny. It's supposed to be funny moments.
How funny do you think it was?
It's 50-50, I feel like. I'm not giving it a 5, but I'm saying it's just like some of the jokes are really cringe and are kind of painful to watch, and then others are fucking hilarious. So I'll give it a 7. Like, I feel like it's a good bit over average. Like, it's not like I'm peeing my pants, this is so fucking funny, but at the same time, it's like, man, some of like the kid acting, especially with Mimi, is like, shut up. It's like, there's moments that are supposed to be funny and you're just kind of like... So I feel like a 7 is, because that's mostly positive. I'd say there's more funny jokes that do land than don't.
I cannot believe that I'm scoring this higher than you. But I'm giving it a 9. And here's why. It's not because, I mean, you're right. There were some jokes that didn't hit right, and there were some jokes that were just cringe. However, I have not seen the three of us laugh that much at a movie since Monster House. Yeah. And Monster House is supposed to be funny, and it's a kids' horror movie. This is an actual, like, adult-themed horror movie that is supposed to be funny.
It's funny thinking about it that I would imagine Monster House is way scarier than this.
Yeah, and I agree, but I think that this kind of humor made us laugh more.
Yeah.
Because it's not childhood stupid funny. It's like, it's just ridiculous funny. Yeah. Because we grew up in an era where it was like Step Brothers and, Scary Movie, Blades of Glory, shit like that. And those movies are funny to us. And so this kind of reminds me of that a little bit. So I have to give it a 9. So you gave it a 7. Yeah. I gave it a 9. Average of 8 for humor. I think that's one of our highest, if not our highest, humor score.
I think that's definitely. If there is one, it's Monster House.
Yeah, but guess what? We're about to see something we've never seen before on this channel: scariness.
Yeah, this is getting a 1 for me. There's nothing scary about this movie.
This is also getting a 1 for me. There is no scare in this movie.
Not at all. Like, at the beginning, like I said, I was expecting this to just... Because I knew nothing about it. But I thought it was going to be, like, cheesy like what we got, but I thought it was going to be a slasher movie about an alien, but... No, it's a straight up comedy. So yeah, I won. There's nothing scary about this movie.
But just like we always say with humor, I feel like it didn't detract.
No, that's how it's supposed to be. This is a comedy, a horror comedy.
So we both agree it's a 1 for scariness. Our lowest scariness total ever. Now moving on to experience, how we felt about the movie as a whole. I think that I'm stuck between 2 numbers, and so I'm gonna ask you to go first. Maybe you can sway me one way or the other.
I feel like the movie is overall just good. It's not like mind-blowing. It's not scary, but it's got some good jokes, but not like all the way through. But all the practical effects are kick-ass. The fight scenes kick-ass. So for me, Personally, just as a whole, I'd say like a 7. Just a good, fun movie to just turn on, turn your brain off, and just watch. That's really the best I can give it. But it's still kick-ass.
I think for me, I have to give it an 8. For all the same reasons that you did, but I found it to be a little funnier than you did. But also just like character design, practical
So
effects. They went so above and beyond, and also I feel like they perfectly captured exactly what they were going for in the style.
Absolutely, it's so good.
I have to give them props for that. So I'm gonna say 8. It's not perfect, and it's not almost perfect, but it's up there for me because I think that the filmmakers set out exactly what they thought they were wanting to do, and also it was effective for an audience member to watch, in my humble opinion. So I gave it an 8. You gave it a 7. That's a 7.5 for experience. So overall, I'd say we got middling scores, which for the average viewer, I think that's pretty accurate, and I'm pretty sure our fan that's been watching will disagree with us. We loved the movie. Don't get me wrong.
It was freaking awesome.
It was great. I can't wait to buy it. It's just just talking about it as a movie as a whole, though, the scores don't reflect the actual sitting down to watch it.
Yeah.
So I still highly suggest that you go watch it for yourself and make your own opinion and let us know down in the comments below. And also, if you have any suggestions on other horror movies, this is proof. We've done it twice now. If you recommend it enough, we will do it. So,
absolutely.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what we do here, leave us a like. We do have an Instagram, so if you want to keep up to date on all of our real world shenanigans or like be informed about upcoming videos through another platform, head over to @thehorrorden channel.
We're getting back on top of that, so hopefully by the time this gets posted, I'm back on top of Instagram.
Okay.
I've been kind of AFK since October.
Right. It's been crazy. But you can go ahead and go follow us over at the Horror Den channel on Instagram. We also have a Patreon.
Yeah, for as low as $5 a month, you can have your name put up at the end of all of our videos, and all funds go right back into the channel to support us because we all work full time, and this is just a side hobby at the moment. So hopefully it grows into something big one day. So we're maybe a month away now from getting our capture card that we've been saving up for, so we'll finally be able to start playing some video games.
We're also a month away from our birthday as a channel.
Yeah, which is insane.
Yeah, we've almost been doing this for a whole year, and when I tell you that we are humbled, to say the least, that we have got the support that we've gotten so far. I mean, we're not anywhere near some of the sizes of other channels, but we've only been doing this a year. We're almost at our milestone for the first time. And, we're very appreciative. We make nothing from this. So it's just out of the, dedication to doing what we do and being friends. So, thank you for anybody who's made it this far. But anyway, guys, so don't want to keep it too much longer. We hope you go watch the movie. We hope you follow us. If you want to support us on Patreon, go do that. We should have some other stuff to report in the future when it comes to social medias. But until then, stay spooky out there.